Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is the second part of the video where I showed you guys how to draft and sew a corset. Okay, so the link to that video will be in my description box, so feel free to watch the first drafting process because that will help you to understand this video better. Okay, so this is the cup of my corset. I'm just joining it, okay, so that I can be able to attach it to the body of the corset. Okay, so I'm just picking half an inch, and you can watch that I'm working with my patterns. I'm making sure that I'm following my sewing the way I labeled it on my pattern, joining my A to my B in the same way that I labeled it with the arrow to avoid confusion. Okay, you can see how the cup is looking like. So I just did the same thing on the left side of the cup, and I'm just going to trim off my wording that I added to my cup on the seam area. This is to enable a very smooth curve when I iron. Okay, so that's basically what I'm doing here. And afterwards I'm going to be joining all my patterns together. I'll be joining number one to the second part of number one. The same thing I'll do on the lining. I'll be joining 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically I'll join everything together. Okay, it's just that's why you need to make sure your patterns are very close to you to avoid mistakes, and whatever you are doing on your fabric you are also going to do on your lining. If it's going to confuse you, make sure you have your part immediately you sew on your clothes, you transfer the pattern to your lining and sew. Okay, so this is this is the look when I've finished joining all the patterns together. You can see how it looks. Okay, my fabric was brown, right, and now it's having a skin color. I have a video where you can learn how to make your own illusion crepe. Okay, so put the link in the description box. Okay, so this is me attaching my boning. You can see how I'm attaching it. I'm just going to sew closely to the boning. Okay, watch carefully so that you can understand this technique. It's actually a very simple technique, and it will hold your boning down to your corset very well, and you will not have issues. Okay, so I'm carefully sewing it because sewing it is a bit tricky. You can have issues like the boning shifting from where you want it to sew, so you will be the one feeling it to know where you have sewn and to be sure that you are sewing the right thing. Okay, so after doing that I'm just going to cover up my boning. I'm going to make sure that I cover it very well. We don't want to have our boning sticking out of the bone casing. You know, it's going to look funny, so I'm just ensuring that I conceal it very very well to give me a very neat and finished look. Okay, this corset is not really difficult. It's not hard. It's just if you put your mind to it, trust me, you're going to get it. It's actually a simple and a seamless process. Okay, so I'm done with my boning. I'm done with encasing my boning onto my corset, and you can see how it is looking. You can see how my corset is looking. So I'm just going to attach the plain fabric that I have at the center for the styling. Okay, so this is just me well freehand. I'm just looking at how I want it to envisioning it, and I use my pins to pin it down. Okay, so I'm just cutting out the shape that I want, and after which I'm going to fold it in. You can see what I'm doing, so that I can stitch it down and it will give me what I want. Okay, you know, with these things we have to be very, very creative. Okay. Okay, so I'm just putting my cups to see how it's coming out, how it's looking like, you know, what it's going to give me when I'm done. And I like what's giving me. Okay, so at this point I'm just showing you how I attach my ready-made cup to my corset cup. So I use my hot glue to attach it, but mind you, you try not to attach it to the sewing area, otherwise you have issues sewing it down to your corset. Okay, so I'm just taking half an inch round my cup area to attach my cup to my corset. Okay, we'll carefully sew it down, and this is how it should look. This is what it should look like. Okay, so I'm going to do the same on the left side, and my corset cup is ready. Okay, so we'll move over to my yoke. Going to what I did, I removed one part of my yoke. I initially cut double, but I ended up using just one. Okay, and I removed 1 inch from the back of my corset. This is to allow me have enough space for the bar of my eyelet, you know, where the eyelet is going to sit. You know, in the drafting I already removed some inch, but I saw that I needed to still remove another 1 more inch, you know, to give me what I wanted. Okay, so I've done that, and I'm just measuring the bar that is going to carry my eyelet. So I'm just measuring it to see the quantity of clothes that I'll be needing for it. So after measuring that, I'll put it on fold. I used 2.5. Okay, I measured 2.5 width, and the length is the length of your corset, of course. Okay, so I actually cut this like 4 times. I doubled it 4 times. Well, this is because I didn't want to use an interfacing, so I just doubled up the clothes. I doubled up the fabric, and it gave me what I wanted, so I worked with it. Okay, so I'm just putting it on fold and just going to give it an old traditional press. Okay, so before attaching the bar for my eyelet, I'll first of all drape this beaded lace. I'll drape the beaded lace to the back part of my corset. Okay, so I'm just attaching it from the side seam, the boning on the side seam. I'm just using my pins to pin it down. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I set it very well, and afterwards I'm going to use my needle and thread to tack it down. But for now I just want to pin it down with my pins, okay, and trim it out so that I can attach the bar for my eyelets. Okay, so after doing this, I'm just going to break my beads that are on the way, that are obstructing me from sewing. Okay, so this is what I'm using to break my beads. Okay, so if you have a tailor hammer, please use. I'm attaching my yoke, my back yoke, okay, from one end to the other, and I'm now going to attach my eyelet bar. Okay, here's what happened. I actually forgot that I have not turned the neck before attaching that eyelet bar to my corset. So I had to find a way to work around it. Yes, but for now I'm just attaching it. You see what I later did in the video. Okay, so I sewed on the other side, then flipped it over to top stitch which is what I'm doing now. So after top stitching, I'm going to cut my boning, and I'm going to fix my boning into it. You can see I'm measuring the boning. I'm going to fix it into it. My boning will not start from the beginning of my corset to the end. It's just I'm going to leave like half an inch for sewing allowance. Okay, so I attached it into the bar, and I moved it to one side, to the side of the corset. Okay, and I'm going to run a stitch. This is to make sure that my bone my snatching is going to be well secured. Okay, so after running it on this side, I'm going to also run it on the other side, and I'm going to make sure that I have half, okay, let's say more than half an inch in the center area, and that's where my eyelet is going to sit. Okay, you can see how I'm making sure that I'm sewing on the boning, but the boning is sitting exactly where I want it to sit. That is very, very important. Okay, so I'm fixing in the second boning that's going to stay just at the other outer side, okay, the other end of the bar. Okay, so I'm also going to run my stitch to secure it down so it doesn't move around. So that means I'm sewing on the ridgeline bone. Okay, I'm sewing on the ridgeline bone, and after sewing I would have enough space in the center to attach my eyelets. Okay, so watch closely what I'm doing and you're going to understand it. It is actually very, very, very easy. Okay, so after doing that, you can see my spacing at the center. You can see what it's looking like. So now I'm going to attach my lining to my corset. Okay, I missed the video part of the caging for this corset, but I promise I'm going to make a video on bust caging. Okay, so I'm just flipping it to the other side to run my lining on my corset on the neck area. So I'm just going to give it stitch down from one end to the other, and you are going to see how it's going to look like after I've run it down. But you use pins to secure it so that it doesn't move away from where it ought to stay. Okay, so right here I've finished running it down, and you can see what I told you. I had to fold in the lining on that side to use pins to secure it. Okay, so after securing them with pins, I ran a stitch over it, that's over that place, to make sure that it stays in one place. Okay, so but that's not how it's supposed to be. I was supposed to turn my lining, my neck with my lining first before I fix my eyelet bar. So that's a mistake on my part. Okay, so I've done that, and I also had to hem the upper area. All this is just to make sure that I have a neat finishing. Okay, so after doing that, I'm just going to use my piece of fabric to encase the lower part of my corset. Okay, so I'm running my piece of fabric on the back of my corset. Afterwards, I'm going to turn it the other side to cover up. Okay, so you can cut this on bias. You can cut your fabric on bias to enable you to turn it very easily, depending on how it suits you. Okay, so I'm just sewing it down, and this is how it looks. This is the final look. Okay, so after doing this, I'm just going to attach my yoke, my front yoke, and I'm also going to join my shoulder. So I usually use a piece of paper to join my whenever I'm sewing my mesh, my skin mesh. Yes, that is to make sure that the machine sews it very, very well. Okay, so you can see my yoke. I'm going to attach it to my corset, and you see how it's going to come out at the end. I attached it like this because of the caging, right? I didn't want to have any issues, so now I'm hand tacking it down. The back that I attached, the back that I attached my beaded lace to, that's what I'm tacking down with my needle and thread. Okay, I'm just going to use my needle and thread to stitch it to be clean, to avoid any lines of the boning showing. I'm just going to make sure that I give it a neat tacking, a neat hand tacking. Okay, so after doing this, I would proceed to styling my cup area to cover up my that green fabric that I put my cup, my green, everything on the upper parts. I'm just going to cover it with my lace, and you can see how it's already looking. If you love this video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, comment, please. Thank you so much. So I'll be posting a video where I showed how to pick the darts properly on the cup area, and this is the final look of this dress. Okay, there are still more videos coming up on this dress, how to attach your waistline, your skirt V waistline to your corset. Okay, so please show this video love. Thank you so much, thank you so much for watching up to this point. Bye bye.